Field, but welcome everyone, welcome to the show. We've got Guerilla TV, that's his ex name and that, but it's David. Good evening, David.
Good evening, John. How are you doing? Nice to see you again.
I'm good, mate. And it was really good catching up at the
Belmont Accord.
Belmont Accords, but I'm certainly looking forward maybe to coming up in January when you were in to Scotland in January. So that'll be interesting. I'm going to probably get a couple of days because I do have a good pair of supporters up there, Davey and Caroline. They live near Glasgow, and they spent time coming down here supporting demos down here and stuff, and they joined our party. I'm going to go up, spend a few days with them, but I look forward to that in January. But welcome to the show, everyone. I'm not sure what exactly we're going to talk about, but I mean, we can see in the news. The other day, a mate of mine messaged me and said Angela Rayner's coming back, and then all of a sudden I see like pro Angela Rayner things and all that lot. You know, the political parties are in turmoil, guys. They're in absolute turmoil. Now they're dragging up school day things of Nigel Farage, and that's plastered. You just couldn't make it up what our LibLabCon and biased, liberal, horrible, politically correct media are like. You just couldn't make it up. And people are seeing this, and it disgusts most people. Most sane, sanitized, normal people, it disgusts them by the way the parties are going and the media goes on. This is a time, guys, and I said this in my speech. This is a time now that we can score points, dig roots, support our communities, and get involved in local politics. We'll soon change things. It's coming, guys, and this is a time. But good evening, welcome to the show. We've got the mighty Paul Rimmer there. How are you, sir?
Very well, thanks, John. And it's great to have David on board, our Guerilla TV guest. I want to ask David a few questions, if we can start with that. Just tell us your background, David, and what your sort of modus operandi is up in Scotland.
Well, I'll start with what the Guerilla TV channel is to start off with, because people might not understand what we do and who we are and what our raison d'etre is. I'm personally a libertarian liberal, so I'm a centrist libertarian, and that's my political beliefs. I believe in freedom of speech, so that is freedom of speech for everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're left, right, centre. For me personally, or the Guerilla TV channel, we want to have the most eclectic voices from various political entities. Now, I think some people are actually self-censoring. There's no banning of anybody on the Guerilla TV channel. Anybody can come on and have their say. We don't discriminate in any sort of way politically. So it could be a far left far left politician or far right. A lot of left-wing politicians are self-censoring on the Guerilla TV channel. There's no requirement we'd have anybody on to actually state their case and debate the political issues. We feel that to have the maximum diversity in political voices is beneficial for the whole of society. Ideas are not fragile. So if you have got a valid point, whether it be left, right, centre, authoritarian or libertarian, then we want to hear you defend your position and to state your case. So that's really from the Guerilla TV's point of view. We've been covering politics now for 8 years, so we're not new on the block by any stretch. I've been in politics since my early 20s, which, as you can see, was about 5 years ago now. So, the fact is, well, I've been involved in politics now. I haven't done anything as significant as I have done over the last 8 years, but the channel is very small. It's very small. It's been suppressed because the channel is so heavy hitting. We've got our own website now, and it's going to expand and get bigger we're also very well thought of amongst political leaders. So political leaders can come on, have the say. We've done long 3-hour discussions with political leaders, and to allow them to state their cases, find out where they are in the political spectrum. So that's basically the background of the Guerilla TV channel. It's my own personal background. As I said, I've been involved in politics, but I took a long sabbatical for a number of years, and because I wanted to enjoy myself and have a life in between. But I'm now at a stage of wisdom and maturity where I can come on and state political philosophy points, political policy better than a lot of other individuals can as well. So it can be quite tricky for certain individuals when I'm debating them, because they usually get out chest moved on that, which I don't know if any of you have seen me speaking to Anasawa, and this has gone massively viral, a 1-minute clip of me speaking to Anasawa to ask him about the murder and rapes. But in fact, this was actually the actual murders were a misquote from the BBC, who said there was 3 murders in Glasgow, but there wasn't. There were 6 stabbings in one incident in Glasgow. But there's also been rapes, as there has been all over England, and other few people have been murdered in England just now. And I think that this has not been seen as racist or bigoted, but being swept under the rug. And I've lived in the Middle East. I've lived in the Middle East for 4 years. I was attacked by a taxi driver. I was held for 4 years. I was held for 2 years in the country without a legal ability to work or leave the country. My dad died, couldn't come home from my father's funeral. I went to jail for 69 days, even though a state taxi driver, had admitted to attacking me, and the British government, through the Foreign Office, through the embassies, did nothing to help, even though they knew I was in that situation. So these are all issues that will come greater to the foresight in future. But my personal background, I was the first person in my family to get a degree. I've got 2 learning difficulties. I've got dyslexia and ADD. I have studied for a Masters in Computer and Internet Technology. I have qualified as an IFA and a stockbroker, only to get all my qualifications cancelled in 2011 because of corporatist legislation by the main political entities. I have been the head of 2 Forex companies in Dubai. So my background is I've got an expertise in finance, and that's where but I also lived with Muslims in a Muslim country, and I read the Quran, and I know Muslim / Arabic history from the 7th century. So I am an expert in that as well. So it's difficult for people to debate me on things like that. And actually, I stated that Islam was a child rapist death cult, and Andrew Neil said to Nigel Farage on the BBC, this as if this was a revelation, where there's a guy called Mohammed Hijab, who's one of the Dawa guys, who is down at Speaker's Corner saying it's not Quranically problematic for Muslims to have sex with prepubescent children, which I would have thought, it's not a law just now, but I would have thought promoting paedophilia, even if it's through a religion, should be illegal, and promoting murder, because both are illegal currently. The promotion of this through a religion should still be illegal acts. But I know it in greater detail, so I can really go into detail on these things. So when people are coming out with nebulous arguments, I can really take them to task on the back of that.
Yeah, there's a few problems with what you said there, Guerilla. First of all, the issue, well, we could go into the libertarian issue, which we might do later, because I think there's limits to libertarianism. But the issue of free speech. Now, in America, obviously, they have the Second Amendment, is it? Or is it the first? I'm not sure, first or Second Amendment.
Second Amendment. First
Amendment guarantees freedom of speech. Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. So they in America, free speech is taken for granted, but there are limits on free speech because obviously you have freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. And other people who control the media and control the technologies can also control who has like a platform on them. Until Elon Musk bought X, a lot of voices were being excluded. But once you get freedom of speech, you get all the... Well, you got Nick Fuentes, who's challenging the Jewish hegemony in America, and that's creating a real furore, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you've also... You got these issues. I mean, they've got these labels. They could be racist, could be anti-Semitic, could be homophobic. They love to stick these labels onto people and exclude them on that basis rather than debate the issues. Obviously, it's Nick Fuentes is causing the rumbling in America. And in this country, last week, we had Steve Laws. I don't know if you saw Steve Laws' interview with Liam Tufts. That's really shaking the internet. Now, he's called for the deportation, not only of immigrants, but of basically people, non-white people. So he's pushing the boat out there. Obviously, if he's going to make those statements, people have the right to come back against them. But I'm amazed how wide the platform he's been given, Steve Laws. And it's well worth debating what he had to say. Well, I don't agree with everything he had to say, but he's obviously opened up the issue because the big issue in our society is the demographic replacement of the native population, the clergy plan.
Which is illegal under international law. I don't know if you've seen the UN's declaration on genocide, but I would suggest that you want to have a look at that because it is illegal to the outcome of it would be a judge-led prosecution, a bit like the Nazi war crime Judge Nuremberg. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Judgments, because it's illegal to do things that would ethnically replace or to destroy a country under the UN laws on the declaration of genocide. So this is a legal matter. It's not even just a left-right. This is an international law matter, and this is obviously been done deliberately by the globalists who have, which is the globalists aren't just one entity. The globalists are people who believe in the moves towards a one world government, a one world currency, and a one world religion, and this has been done deliberately. And the globalists are in. Even the nationalist parties, the Sinn Féin, the Welsh nationalists, the Scottish nationalists are all globalist shell parties, as is the Lib Lab Con party, as is the Greens, as is the SNP in Scotland, for example. Every one of them are shells for the globalists. And
they're all open border fanatics, aren't they? They believe in mass immigration. But
this is the globalist manifesto. So once you understand that there's a globalist manifesto, and the manifesto that they give the voter isn't the actual correct or the one that they'll follow through the Treasury, which the young fellow Blackman's done a great job in freedom of information, and implement the globalist manifesto. They don't really tell us, but they sort of drip it out. They already know what that manifesto is because they go to Davos and they go to the Bilderberg Group and other globalist entities where they take the politicians take their instructions from. And
the World Economic Forum.
World Economic Forum, which is all part of the globalist agenda. You've got to understand that even the Conservative Party signed us up to the Union of the Mediterranean, the Barcelona process, and then the UN Compact in Marrakesh. So that's to open up the Middle and North African Near East, to open up for the moves towards the one world government.
Right.
How are we going to stop that? This is the issue. John, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah.
Well, can I just say, John, just quickly, just before to stop it, you're going to have an awakening of the populace, the voting populace, and people like yourself are going to have to articulate what is the agenda is and methodologies how to stop it. Once you know what the manifesto is, you can then take steps to stop that manifesto or reverse it or attack individuals, take people out of positions of power to actually stop it. Carry on, John.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree with what you say, and I can connect with a lot of people, me, and I have a broad subject. And, like talking with other people, I've interviewed Scottish Family Party guy a couple of times.
Richard.
Yeah. We met him in the street as well, and the ex-missus, she even went to one of the dudes, and I'm good like that. That's the epitome of me. I'm so nice. I just don't like it when like they do something against me or someone's negative and I'm different. But no, it's a good point, and we have to talk with the left. I know they want to scream, I know they say awful things, but they're not all like that. And we have to talk to them people who are not like that. And there's loads of things bringing us together right now, just like that DigiID is bringing.
It doesn't matter what you are. Yeah, that's right. It's an anti-authoritarian. It's anti-authoritarian, which is libertarian in itself.
And which is bringing us together. It's going to make us stronger. But anyway, let me get on. Let me introduce Stuart Boniface. Stuart, you all right, mate?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Before I get started, could I please ask you all, if you can, I know times are hard, but if you can, do a little donation, helps us along, gets our leaflets out there, gets our message out there at a local level. I'd like to welcome our guest, David. I've got to be honest with you, David, I've not heard of your TV channel before, but I will be, as soon as we're finished, I'll be one of your subscribers. I'm very interested into seeing what you do and Belmont Accord, etc. I know that we were talking about multiculturalism. The financing is what we really need to look at as to where the money's coming from that's being pumped in for the mass immigration. We know, for instance, that there's contracts for the boats that come across the channel to go straight back. Nearly every person that you see on a dinghy has a brand new, or rather than new-looking lifebelt jacket. So there's the financing there. We know that it's a George Soros opening foundation, among others. You mentioned a chap on X earlier who's doing the freedom of information requests. His name slips my mind for the moment. Blackman or Blacken or something like that. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Yeah, he's doing some brilliant work on the freedom of information requests, and he's trying to find out, because it has been admitted that our government is paying non-governmental organisations, so that's going to be what's called the multiculturalism left pushing it. That financing is across the board going into many entities, including Hebrew charities, Catholic charities, Protestant charities. They're all working to get the people in and to pay for all the lawyers and everything that advises them on how to get into the country, how to stay into the country and take advantage of our weak system. And it's been deliberately done. It's been done over a number of years, 40, 50 years. at least that this has been worked on.
Sure, do you mean if I interject here, just so, because I would like to, because this is great points. If you think about the age of the WEF, that's 50 years. There's pictures of Prince Charles with Klaus Schwab. At the time, Prince Charles, now King Charles, obviously, with Klaus Schwab. This goes right throughout the establishment, right throughout the same with the wanting to stay in the EU and the Remain vote. This is establishment led, and it's not an invasion. People say, "Oh, this is an invasion." It's not an invasion. It can't be an invasion. This is like a Trojan horse. This has been deliberately done by our political class, and the people that are just the populace, the populi, are allowing it to happen because they are siding with the globalists who are in all political parties and allowing this to happen. They've not woken up to, it's not the left versus right or the centre versus anybody, or it is the libertarians versus the authoritarians, and it's also the globalists versus the anti-globalists. So it doesn't matter if you're left, right or centre. If you're an anti-globalist and you don't believe in the globalist project, then you're probably on side. And if you're a libertarian and you believe in the freedom of the individual or the empowerment of the individual, not the state, then you're probably not on their side either. So it's about education of the populi, so that but they've also got their minions in positions of power. It's a bit like the Omen, where with Damien, the Satanists on the position of power. And I'm not saying they're Satanists, I'm saying they've got a deliberate political agenda, and the deliberate political agenda is a movement towards the one world government. It would be a bit like having politics that would resemble the Hunger Games. Sorry, Stuart, carry on.
No, absolutely. I agree with every point that you make. What worries me at the moment is a lot of it's the technocrats. The technocrats are transhumanists. Transhumanists. They're eugenicists. I believe that that's all part of the one world government system, whatever you want to call it. Eventually, they want a one world religion as well. And I do believe that our King Charles is behind that. There was
He's certainly on board with it. He's certainly on board with this, Sean.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, there was a bill going through Parliament for the disestablishment of the Church of England. And it already was approved by King Charles as soon as he came into power. Very, very quietly, it was done. And I believe that it made the third reading and then it sort of hush disappeared because people like me, first time on X, cottoned onto it and it went viral. And then suddenly it disappeared off of the government website. It can still be found on, I think it's webarchive.org. It can still be found on there. Even the copy that I had on my phone of the bill went blank.
Wow.
The thing is, though, Stuart, the Church of England is a captured institution, just like the Catholic Church, just like the Methodist Church, just like the Baptist Union, just like the Presbyterian Church in Scotland. They're all captured. They're all controlled by the globalists. They're all in favour of open borders. They're not going to save our nation.
Well, they're actually selling the reduction in the amount of people, just for the Protestant church alone, the reduction in the people that are going to church in Scotland staggering, and they're actually selling off churches all over Scotland because there's no attendance there. So the dissolution of what is the Protestant church in Scotland, and also the imposition of Islam, that they're trying to indoctrinate children. They're trying to indoctrinate children into saying everybody's far right who doesn't agree with the globalist agenda, and these children who think are looking to like the teachers union, which is upstream from the teachers, and the teachers are actually politically indoctrinating children, which is not their job to do, are now affecting it, and they're trying to bring in Islam and indoctrinate them into Islam.
Now, the thing is, there's a massive pushback to this, obviously, now. The nationalist movement, Trump, and of course, Russia. I mean, Putin is against this whole globalist agenda. But the question is, how much time have we got? How effective are we being? And what will Trump add is going to add to this mix? I mean, Trump's been in for a year now. He's a transitional figure. But there's no doubt America First and MAGA, they've closed the southern border, they're beginning mass deportations, and now Marco Rubio has said he's going to start to interfere in Europe. The two-tier justice system, the mass invasions, the loss of sovereignty, all this has to be corrected. And how fast can we push back? And how are we going to push back in Britain?
Well, let's
the MAGA base, sorry to interrupt. You've got to consider at the moment that the MAGA base, whatever you want to call it, is falling apart. It is absolutely falling apart because of the Israeli, Judeo, whatever you want to call it, Zionist infiltration of the American government. And it's seen by a lot of people that the Netanyahu and the Israeli government are in control. They're totally ignoring all international laws they are, by international law, an occupying entity. And as an occupying entity under international law, you are supposed to take care of your subjects that you are occupying. And that is still part of the law. They are flouting it everywhere. You know, they're bombing Lebanon every day. They've broken the so-called ceasefire every day. And it's splitting the MAGA base apart. And Trump, they've had some primaries lately. Nearly every single one turned from red to blue. And it's because of this. And there's now anti-Zionist PACs movements started up in America. So it's splitting the MAGA base, and that takes away a lot of Trump's power. And he's seen as a simp at the moment with no power at all. And he's being controlled. And it's the stuff coming out in the Epstein files and the Epstein releases from the Epstein estate. There's some staggering stuff on there that's starting to come out. And if it really hits the mainstream, Trump's gone. You know, next November, at their midterms, if it turns the House blue, the Senate blue, he will be indicted straight away. They will have him on so many indictments, you won't believe it. So if something's going to happen, it needs to happen fast.
Well, let me say, on the back of what happened to the Bellman Accord, I would suggest that other political entities, so the Bellman Accord should start to bring in other political entities, whether it be UKIP. I understand there's problems with UKIP, Paul Golding, Britain First, the Scottish Libertarian Party. It's already started, but there are other political entities there to start off with. What you have to do is identify what the globalist agenda is, and then you, as a political party, have to then put out an agenda against that. So in a positive way as well. So it's a double thing you have to do. You've got to put the positive position for the individual or the nation state, or the reduction in taxation, for example, against the agenda. And all of you as all individual political parties have to be on board with the one political agenda. And all of you, from the Bellman Accords, you have to develop a manifesto. And from that manifesto, I would suggest that one political entity from, maybe call it the Bellman Accord guy, go, and everybody floods in from the different political parties into that seat and canvasses on that one political entity who the manifesto candidate is backed by all the political parties, and that being, you don't split the more people into the actual place. And the difference between the Housing Party, UKIP, Britain First, even Sovereignty, the other political parties, some of them are libertarian parties, some of them are more nationalist parties, but to work together to actually formulate the anti-globalist manifesto and the actual proper working together to push the best client in an area, get all the parties to flood into the area. We're all backing this guy, and this is the agenda that this guy is going to follow.
John, I think we need to explain to the people who are listening what the Belmont Accord is and what it intends to achieve.
So the Belmont Accord, guys, it's a group of parties coming together, and we're going to work together. And I mean, I've been contacted well before we went to this meeting about this, and it's something that we have to look at. We know fundamentally that's how it's got to go. You've got to come together with these small groups. We say it all the time. We've always said it throughout our Activision and all that, in speeches and stuff like that. And this is set up that we do it, and we're coming together as a group of parties. And it's not that I knew what the Belmont Accords was, but it's the other parties that I'd already seen. And when we started off with the big C and all this lockdown stuff, that's when it changed for me. And one of the parties that I met was the Freedom Alliance, and they formed straight away, just like NHP, and they ran candidates in local elections, guys. They ran candidates in local elections within like a month of forming, and that's just how I did it. And they've ran candidates all over the country, and that's the kind of positive thing that I'd like to see, even though I wasn't even in a party yet, and we'd not founded, me and Pat had not founded the NHP UK, but I seen this other party do that. So coming together with the Accords now, we can better help at these different parties. And one of the main bases happened to be in the Wirral, and I've already spent a bit of time in the Wirral, so I can get back down there and see what we can do. But it's great, and like I said, we can work together. The English Democrats were there, and whether they've got a council seat or not, it's about getting engaged. And twice they've done well in getting thousands of votes in the MP elections. They've ran twice, I think, there. And one of them who ran was Teresa Hurst, another person who had already previously met and supported out of my own thing. I wasn't in any political party, but we met up with her, and we spent a day taking her to certain locations and doing some interviews and talking to people in Batley. So this kind of formation of Belmont Accords, it's good for me because I like that kind of thing, and I've already been involved in that kind of thing by supporting people from other parties and individuals.
Well, John, I think BA could be the start of each of these parties' names just to signify the Belmont Accord. I think the move towards a joint manifesto, you already know that the majority of these parties are anti-globalist anyway, so the starting of the anti-globalist, the starting of we oppose vaccine mandates, we oppose digital currency and digital ID. These are all things that can be agreed on right off the bat. I don't think there would be any disagreement, and that's the start of a joint manifesto where the actual political parties put BE in front of their name to signify that they are parties of the Belmont Accord, and that then expands and could actually manifest into a unified political entity where everybody then starts to go together to the one location and increase the density of going out and canvassing and talking to people as well and explaining what this is.
Well, we've seen with in by-elections that the UKIP party, Heritage Party, when it comes up against reform, It's getting a joke vote. So we have to be effective in being partaking in elections and getting a decent vote, or challenging in these elections, giving a realistic challenge. You see, reform as a cancel policy. They cancel people, anyone they want to disagree with, anyone who calls for an end of permanent settlement immigration, anyone who calls for the end of asylum, anyone who stands against all these globalist institutions. Reform won't entertain them.
Well, I've been cancelled, Paul, I was a Brexit MP, and after that happened with Nigel and Andrew Neil, I didn't get a right of reply. I was effectively cancelled. However, I'm obviously a bigger entity than Reform or the Brexit Party can box me in, and that's the one thing. But I think Heritage and UKIP should be coming on board with the Bailment Accord, and this is what I'm saying. Once it gets to a critical mass, you're getting one joint person, and everybody's backing that one joint person. It then becomes, and all the parties go in. They can keep their individual parties, but we know what the manifesto is. You know who the person is, and everybody's got backing that individual. It can be sworn by many parties. There should be joint communication where we say we've got this by-election coming up, and all the political entities are all coming up to support one candidate in that entity, whether it be a local election or a by-election, or coming up from the Scottish and Welsh elections as well.
Well, that title, the Alliance for Freedom and Democracy, that can be an overall title for a lot of parties, because that's ultimately, we stand for freedom. You talk about libertarianism, but we have to have, we're oppressed in our own country. We're denied freedom of expression. We're denied sort of freedom of coming together, organizational freedom. And we need to reclaim that. And we need to really embolden the British people to challenge this agenda, this globalist agenda. Now, reform's going so far, we can take it further. Because if we're going to really resolve this, we've got to be a lot more radical. And most of the parties you've described are more radical. Now, we need to get Heritage on board. We need to get UKIP. We need to get Britain First. We need to get together. And accord means in harmony. We have basic policies that we're all in harmony with. We can have our disagreements, but that can be a secondary issue. The important thing is we have the core policies, and then we present it to the public as a force, a realistic force to take power. This is what the public want to see. John? Or Dave, go on.
Well, I was just going to interject quickly, because I'll forget, because my memory's like a sieve. The left and the globalists. So the left and the globalists are two different entities. The globalists are a corporatist class who believe in the perversion of a capitalist system through the state. The left also believe in open borders. So there's a synergy there. A lot of these left-wingers seem like they're middle class. So there's a left-wing synergy. The word racist came from Leon Trotsky, who was a Jewish communist who murdered millions of people in the Soviet Union. And the word social justice also comes from Marx, which is not a justice system. So if I kill Paul, I get treated to the justice that's stated by the state. But if I killed John and that was seen as a racial aggravated, then that exaggerates it. But the fact is, what would the difference between me killing Paul or killing John? Surely the death of the individual is the crime, regardless. And this is where the social justice, which is a discriminatory justice, has come into place. And this is again based on communist principles. It's not based on a justice system. If I steal from John, I'm a thief. If I steal from John, it shouldn't matter what his ethnicity is. There should be a justice system, and social justice is a communist term. So the communists have infiltrated through the parliament, down through the civil service, and implementing communist ideology.
Black Lives Matter was the epitome these past few years of just what you're saying there.
A Marxist organisation, John.
That was
the education system was taken over. Possibly at the end of the Second World War, maybe before, the Frankfurt School. You know, we've all followed that communism ideal. Get the children away from the parents. That's why Labour at the moment, we've got to be nice, look after all these children, make sure they get a breakfast of crappy cereal. But, you know, you can go out to work more, or you can sit on your ass and do nothing. That's the things that are being pushed at the moment, and that's part of the social engineering. Critical race theory, the whole thing.
Communist again. Craig Houston has just done. Craig Houston is the leader of the Social Democrat Party, which by its nature would be centre left because they're Social Democrats, who's been described as far right. So a centre left political leader of a political entity, the centre left, has now been described as far right. Now, where does that say where the political centre point is? But anyway, he's done a brilliant podcast on the Scottish Teachers Union, and I would suggest you all go and watch it, because I don't think it's just the Scottish Teachers Union, but they're interfering with these children's lives to push communism and to push their agenda, and calling everything else that they don't agree with just far right and being able to dismiss it is absolutely ridiculous.
There's been several incidents across Scottish schools of serious things like that dealt with by the teachers. And I remember this from, like, say, more than 5 years ago, and various things. And it's devilish up there. You know, I'm lucky, mate. I'm lucky. When I was young, and as I was coming into being a teenager, not really started indoctrinating me as much as other people have been since. You know, we didn't get that. But, you know, I've seen the change. Paul's seen the change. We've seen this change in our society, the way social justice is top of the list and all that. Everybody's woke, you know, and, you know, we've seen it. We've seen it.
John, the comprehensive education system pushed by Shirley Williams to undermine traditional education in this country was up and running when we were at school, certainly in the 1970s. Now, it was initially a communist idea, and it was a communist policy. It was a way of undermining nationhood, undermining individual liberty, undermining traditional morality. But it's gone beyond that now. It's not just communism, it's nihilism. Once they start pushing transgenderism and sodomy and a loss of human identity, it's about destroying people's souls. It's absolutely evil now. It's demonic.
And the sterilisation of children when they're probably not able to get a tattoo, getting puberty blockers pushed on them. Don't forget, you said earlier on, I was going to agree with you, the globalists want a reduction in population to 500 million. So to kill individuals indiscriminately and to reduce the population rate, which is what they've done, and we're having to import a new population because they're deliberately trying to reduce the domestic population, up to including killing and raping, which has happened in certainly the raping on a mass scale, but they're now starting to murder people. There's another guy, there's a True Brit Media, I think it is, and he's covering a lot of these things. Same things happen in Ireland. This is happening throughout Europe, and it must be happening centrally because the same thing's happening in all the different places. places. So they're getting their orders centrally. It's getting disseminated down through the political class to implement their line saying, oh, we're going to... If you think about how many lies were in the Labour manifesto, how many things they've not actually done that was in their manifesto, that they've completely lied. There should be punishments, as in you have to stand down or you have to get another election if you're going to blatantly, repeatedly lie throughout your manifesto.
Yeah, definitely.
Does it not feel the case here that they flip everything? Social justice. There's no justice in that.
No.
In the creation of a society that stripped away the basic morals that founded our nation, or our nations over the islands, over Europe. That's all being stripped away deliberately, and it's been done socially over history, over time, insidiously. Education in our universities to actually indoctrinate the teachers to actually think that they could have a pupil that could be a cat, for example. The ridiculousness of it, racism, anti-Semitism, feminism, it all comes from the same root of communism. All the isms come from the same sick place, and we need to go back to some sort of basic moral values back in our society, or we're lost. And to do that, we need to start at foundational level, which is why I'm quite excited about the Belmont Accord.
Well, one of you gentlemen spoke about woke. Now, what woke started off, the word woke started off, was the standing up against oppression and racism in America. That's where it started off. But don't forget, we've already identified that the word racism came from Trotsky, or the word racist, sorry, not racism, but racist came from Trotsky. And oppression is a Marxian term, the oppressed and the oppressor. So you can shift that demographic any way you want, really. You can say, I'm now being oppressed, you're the oppressor. So that communist thing is completely fluid to be able to attack Western democracies, on liberal Western democracies, on multiple ways. But the word woke really replaces what it actually is, which you were correct on, which is cultural Marxism. These were all Jewish, and the guy who's in charge of Prague University said that these are all Jewish guys as well. They're Jewish Marxists. All these isms and ists and phobes come from the Frankfurt School, although not solely, were largely a Jewish communist entity. And they saw the murdering of people in Russia, Christians predominantly, and even the starvation of Germans that predated the rise to power by Jewish communists from the Bavarian Soviet Party in Bavaria, and they were starving the populace to death there. And now they're trying to take over the farms. And the same playbook of the communists changed from class-based communism to trans or a female
cultural communism,
cultural communism, and that's what woke actually means. It means cultural communism, and it's always better to say what it actually is, because woke is still a nebulous term, but what you should always say is cultural communism, and actually say the word what it is, where it's from, who you can actually go back, because these were academics, we know what they said and what they wrote.
The goal of Marx was to do away with nations. Sorry, John, do you want to say something?
No, go on, carry on.
Yeah, the goal of Marx was to do with the elimination of nations. So the working class have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Workers of the world unite. What that meant is that there would be no nationhood, and therefore there'd be no identity, no democracy. And who would benefit from that? If the world unites, obviously there's going to be a ruling class. And that ruling class is going to be a globalist ruling class. Who are the globalists? Who are the people that have got control in country after country, who ultimately are globalists, by their very nature. And so these are the people that wanted to take power. We have to emphasize that only in nations can you have democracy. Only in nations can you have the political elite accountable to the people. Only in nations can you be organized and have a sense of people populism, the people coming together. The world's too nebulous. There's no identity in the world. You become nothing. You just become a citizen of the world. It's got no depth and no root. We've all got a specific root. We all belong somewhere. We all belong to something, a tribe. This Kalergi plan was about destroying that, mixing up the nations. But now we see we had the mass importation of Indians under Rishi Sunak, and now we've got the mass importation of Pakistanis under Shabana Mahmood. These people are bringing in their people to take over this country. And the British people have got to wake up. We've got to wake up to this agenda, and we've got to act politically. We've still got democracy. We don't want that democratic window to close. While it's open, we've got to use it. This is why the Belmont Accord is so important. It's going to bring a lot of parties together and offer this radical voice to restore Britain. As Stuart said, we've got to go back to what we had. We have to restore, because it looks like to me now, even the 1970s, even the 1990s look like a utopia compared to today. Yeah. Today, everything is going to pot.
You've got the matrix where everybody was just plugged in to be we were plugged in to be a battery in the matrix, but what you're going to be is just an economic unit for the corporatists, and the corporatists, the globalist corporatists, will be a ruling class where it'll be you have nothing, you'll eat the bugs and you'll live in your pod, while they reduce population and the individual becomes nothing more than an economic unit for them. And they'll control the legislation where they can legislate for you not doing things or having to do things, and that's not acceptable. So it will be corporatism for them and communism for you. You will own nothing and be happy, which, back to what you said, Paul, is almost like you will have no change, but you're not going to be, as communist, you're not going to own anything. You're not going to be able to move out of your economic situation. You're basically going to be like an economic unit in the matrix rather than empowering. Yeah, dependent. You're going to be plugged in to make money for them. They'll overtax you. They'll do this. They'll take your money away. They can take your house away. They'll be able to do X, Y, and Z. And you will just be an economic battery rather than an actual battery to power the machines.
Which is a return to slavery, really. It's an enslavement, a dominant class, and a enslaved class. But the thing is, I don't believe it will work. Because the reason the West has been so successful is because we have been empowered citizens. We have been stakeholders in society. We have wanted to build up a better country and a better, we've made it work. We made Britain work. We made Britain great. We made it a great place to live. These people are not, they're going to undermine everything. And it's going to be, as you say, you'll own nothing. We'll be destitute. And it won't be a utopia for us. It will be just a system of dominance for them.
One of the things that's been talked about, one of the things, just like, give me 2 seconds, I'll finish with this. One of the things that we talked about just now, and there was an interview with he's an American fellow who's on what's that called? It's like a chat show with No, it's about, they were having a debate with Pikachu, and he was talking about the fact that in Islam they've been inbreeding for a number of years, so having sex with their cousins, which is reducing IQ. So if you're bringing in people who are inbreeding, which from a biological point of view, reduces your IQ. You're going to get people who are, the retarded is a medical term, people who are retarded is below 80 IQ points, and you're going to get people, which is what's happening in Muslim countries, is a class of individuals that are easier to control and are actually mentally retarded because it says in the Quran, and they've been inbreeding not for just one generation, but for many generations. And we've already got the documentation for what happens when you're having sex with your family members. If you get 3 or less grandparents and you're not diversification, you're reducing IQ.
Big issue that in Bradford and Oldham.
Yeah,
nearly 50%.
Just if I may interject, just for a little bit of balance, they're not the only group.
Jews as well.
Jews do a lot, and
their own family.
Again, the other guy on the freedom of information request was quite surprised when he got some information back from I think it was Birmingham NHS and maybe another one, and he was quite surprised to see how much it happens and how much it costs the system. And like I say, it's not Christians doing it. It's not atheists doing it. It is Jews and it is Muslims, and they do. We've got to be realistic and not have to self-censor and hold back from saying the truth of what's going on.
The reason that
we have to. We've got to be honest, but they don't want to hear it. But we have to be honest about these things and the medical facts, and it is coming out now more than it used to. So people are a bit more. I have seen several articles actually over the past couple of years, bringing up government statistics and stuff like that. And we have to talk about it and not be afraid to be called them nasty buzzwords. But we're coming up to the end, guys. It's been interesting, Dave. David, we'll have to get you on again. And I'm definitely coming up.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Paul.
I'm definitely coming up in January. I think it's 24th of January. I'm definitely going to make some time for that and get up to Glasgow. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, the mighty Paul Rimmer as well. And you know what, guys? Remember, we're on the spot, and we're going for broke, and we're going to be able to get there. The political landscape is a mess with everything, and it's our chance to get in. And joining us groups, coming together like the Belmont Accords, makes us even more powerful. And I really have good things about this, especially I met especially certain areas. So come on, join us. Let's have a go. God bless y'all, and I'll see y'all next week. Thank you.